Hi, this is Reflections, and I'm Nancy Joy. Whew, I had a ride over the last week or so, and I want to thank everyone who reached out to me after last week's um, video in which I shared my vulnerability and my heart with all of you out in cyberspace, and the response was very supportive and very wonderful. And what I realized, amongst many things, is that when you reach out because someone has touched you like this, it's because it's touched you because it's a place where you hurt also. So I wanted to, I am on the other side. I am so, of course, where we get to grateful for the experience of this ancient and deep pain I went into, and understand myself and our journey emotionally so much clearer. So today I'm excited to share the afterword, if you will, of last week's journey. And the quote that I woke up with this morning, because I always like to begin the reflections with a quote, came from my book, The Wounded Heart, which was the catalyst for this wound in both my own heart and, as I mentioned, a dear friend of mine's heart. And in this novel, there is a part where the Mayan ancestors share with Rose the wisdom of the heart. And the very first thing they say is, your heart unconditionally loves you and will always speak the truth in love. There's absolutely no judgment in your heart, Rose. If you hear yourself criticizing or blaming yourself or another, it's not your heart you are hearing. And it goes on. I go on a little further with it. But I got to thinking that, of course, we live in a world of duality, and our thought forms automatically go to categorize this and that based on our own belief systems, our own feelings, our own journey, and our journeys through ancient times, which are stored in our cells, which we got into last week. So what I realized was that a lot of this trauma was based on judgment. Now, hear me out here. Mine as well as judgments coming at me. And here's the thing. What I realized, judgment is a thought form that we are, that is a pattern in our mind that we use constantly all day long. In my written reflections, I invite all of you to pay attention today for just this one day, every time you think of someone, how you have a thought that creates a judgment. And that judgment, once we realize that we have the judgment, that's a thought, but the thought creates an emotion, a feeling. It brings about a feeling, or else the feeling comes and brings about the judgment. It can work either ways. I've had people write me and say one comes first, then the other. I have found it doesn't matter. It's, again, that's duality, and let's be open to the way all things can happen. And so what happened in this particular situation with me was I did something so unconscious and deeply wounded a friend, as I said. And then I spent days and days sobbing, the kind of sob you can't breathe, and really beating myself up. Really, the judgment was all toward me. It's this old framework from my childhood, and Nancy can't do anything right. And I keep creating that again and again in my life. I call it, I told you last week, my blame issue. But then shortly after I recorded that video, and I was working my way through things, I was certainly in a better place by then, but another friend called, and I don't know, it was just such a setup. Within 1 minute, I was being blasted, just blasted. And this time, instead of beating myself up, I went into anger. Oh, I got so angry. I was so angry. And we hung up angry at each other, that's for sure. And I came back to El Shaddai, took a walk in my woods where I go for a lot of my healing, and so angry, kicking things, breaking sticks, shouting at the world, actually felt good. after days of crying and feeling so victimized, I at least felt a sense of my own power. And as I crossed, we have a creek we call Little Creek. And as I crossed the creek, it's significant, this whole shift just came into me. And I was laughing and I was smiling and I was thinking, wow, thank God for that friend. It's like someone came and threw a glass of ice water in my face and, smacked me and said, snap out of it. And remember in The Lion King, there's one scene, and I can't remember which little animal it was, but he smacks the lion and says, snap out of it. That was the past. And it was kind of that snap out of it thing. And I just thought, wow, I have been so immersed. No wonder this is ancient, in judging myself, in blaming myself, in the shame of my unconscious behavior. And this other friend came and it's like threw it right back on me. And here's the blessing. Here's where I came to. I allowed the judgment. I was in deep judgment of myself, and I allowed that to take me into my pain. And I rode that wave. And I was slowly working my way out of it, but I created then another gift in the form of that ice cold water and snapping into the fact that, why are you judging yourself? Look what the heart says in the very beginning. Your heart unconditionally loves you. There's absolutely no judgment in your heart. But the wound is so deep. So my point here is kind of twofold. I'd like everyone to consider where judgment is in their life, toward themselves and toward others. The lowest form of judgment is pointing the finger. You know the old thing, you have your finger pointed, your one finger pointed, the rest are pointing back at you. That's the lower form of judgment. And it's an automatic little kid thing. If you're hurt and you feel someone's blaming you, you're gonna find a way to push it out, that whole thing. The higher form of judgment, or less dense form, is the form that's deeper, because that's the form where you actually have the opportunity to go to your own wound if you take it. And you start judging yourself and you go into the inner journey then. And from there, you can bring everything into a place of compassion, conscious compassion, and understanding in your heart. So I would invite you to start to pay attention to judgment and the feelings that come before and after it. And I would invite you to use that judgment as an open door to, again, do the cellular healing, the post-traumatic stress buried deep within all of us. And I'm feeling pretty good right now. This lifted so many layers of places where I still held on to that self-inflicted punishment and pain. And I have to say, I feel differently. So I hope in some way this journey of mine helps you and has touched you, and that you'll think about that today. Just think what a world it'll be when, as I mentioned, we all start pointing the finger. Christians are the way, the Muslims are the way, the Jewish religion's the way. There's many ways. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of ways. And when we are truly in our hearts, we will no longer judge them. We will see them as another's journey. So the one more thought to leave you with is that be aware of what is judgment and what's observation. If you're watching someone on their path and you see a struggle and you have a knowing of what their struggle is, that's not judgment. If you have a need to act on them or tell them about it uninvited or think it about them, then you're not clear, that's judgment. So if you're holding someone in a space of your own clarity, of your own wounds, it will no longer be judgment, it will be compassion. So thoughts to ponder this Monday morning. Have a great week. I'm certainly on my way to having a great week. And it's new moon today, so new beginnings. It's a powerful new moon astrologically, if you want to look that up online. And we'll see you again. I'm recording this on Sunday, April 3rd, so that's the new moon. Have a great week. We'll see you again next week. Bye now.